Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyze the meta, what's happening over Japan, and how that'll impact Taiwan. Happy New Year! We have got a ton of cool information to talk about, a ton of brand new cards, but some Paradox Pokemon, which could be actually game breaking, some amazing decks that had some huge deep runs in the Champions League, which kind of I'm labeling potentially have changed the meta forever. We're also breaking down the rest of the top 16. Some established archetypes may not have performed well, but some rogue ones like Goldingo and Roy Moon did go all the way to get that top 4 or even better. So thank you so much for all the support last year. It truly was amazing to see and absolutely so great for every single one of you. I hope you had an amazing holiday and a great new start to the year. So without further ado, let's look at some of these brand new exciting cards. So we'll start off by looking at some of the Paradox Pokemon. So you can see here, they are the ancient, like the beast sort of Pokemon here. And honestly, they're all pretty good. Gouging Fire, I think, is pretty decent. With attack for 2 fire and the colorless, 260 damage, and it can't use the attack unless it's moved out the active spot. Now this can be powered up very easily. Think of Sada, Magma Base, and Energy Attachment. You can get 260 pretty easily. I think this can work very well in like an Entei Valiant deck or just Gouging Fire Valiant. It's doing a lot more damage that way, having a ton of HP. This card here could be very scary. Waking Wade is actually also a decent card. Its ability makes it go through any effects, so it's not affected by anything. So again, very good. Shredder's ability is very strong. And Cathartic Roar doing 240 damage if it's affected, if the opponent's active Pokemon is affected by special condition. Now, a lot of people are thinking, well, this can be added in Brute Bonnet, so you're doing 250 damage by that little bit of poison damage. Chuck a Sneasler in there. You also do additional 2 more damage, about 270. You can even attach Potential Vitality back, and you're doing that 280, that magic number. So there are some things with Waking Raid. Again, like I mentioned, it's very easy to power up Professor Sada, plus attachment, and maybe NG Switch. A lot of people think this could work in Roy Moon, which is itself on its own. It's generally pretty decent. Raging Bolt, however, is a card which a lot of people are liking. The first attack is also pretty decent because it gets to discard your hand and draw 6. Pretty good or first, like going second sort of attack. But also its second attack is what makes it good. You might recognize this. Think about Shi and Pao 60 times. Golden Go 50 times. Now we have Calamity Decent, which is 70 times. You can discard any amount of basic energies attached to your Pokemon, just 70 times the amount of cards you discard in this way. Now, one thing I love about this one, it's a dragon, so no weakness. 240 HP is very strong, and 4 energy discarding, well, you're doing 280 damage. You're hitting their magic number, which is starts like Shi and Pao needs 5 energies, or you have Goldingo, which needs 6 energy. So having 4 is a very nice number. As I mentioned, it's got all that ancient package as well. Professor Sada, a lot of people are thinking you can tuck Sandy Shocks in this one for that energy attachment on the bench. You also have likes of Energy Lotto, the energy flipping card. You've also got potentially you can chuck in a Roy Moon with Dark Patches. Darkrai as well to reuse your item cards. There is a ton of stuff going for this archetype. It's very strong, very powerful. A lot of people are thinking, well, I'm getting very much Reshiram and Zekrom tag team. I'm getting vibes of some other Rayquaza VMAX as well. But honestly, I think this is very powerful. It's already got a very good established archetype, and potentially this could be one of the best ways to play the ancient Pokemon archetype. And a card which can easily fit in is this Koraidon EX, which is very fun to see again. It's a dragon type and an ancient type with a very powerful attacks. 20 plus 10 more for each damage counter on this Pokemon. You're not really going to use that one. Outrage hasn't been a powerful attack. I feel that's in 2012, but a second attack, I really like it. 280 damage for 3 energies of fire and 2 fighting energy, and there's a 60 damage to itself. Now there's a little bit of a drawback there, but like I mentioned before, this can be powered up very easy with the Sada package as well. You could chuck this in a Raging Bolt deck or even a Gouging Fire. As long as you've got some fighting energies attached to it, you can easily slap this in, do an additional 280 damage for 3 energies. Very powerful, definitely better than the Koraidon we already had. Obviously, Dino Cry is a very powerful ability, but this Koraidon EX is still very strong. Looking at the future ones, we see the Swords of Justice, and Iron Leaves EX is again not too bad. It has a weird ear as it's an ability. When it moves from the bench to the active spot, you move any energies from your bench Pokemon to this Pokemon, and it does 180 damage, and it can't attack next turn. Mediocre, not exactly groundbreaking. Iron Crown, however, is very powerful. Basically, it reminds me a lot of Deoxys, doing 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, all of your future Pokemon do, except Iron Crown. So again, this is not too bad if you think about it. If you have like 3 of these out there, plus a Iron Hands you're attacking with, doing additional 60 more damage, you're doing a base then of 180 damage, which is still very powerful. So all of a sudden, Iron Hands could potentially carry itself in its own deck. We can see Future actually become a really strong archetype, which I'm going to talk about a bit later on, but honestly, this is very powerful. Plus, the attack does 50 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. This isn't affected by any weakness, risk, or any effect on those Pokemon, so it goes through Manaphy, very strong. Iron Boulder EX is kind of with the bog standard EXs, not exactly too strong as well, but I just mentioned as well, it just exists. But Mirage on the X as well, again, very similar as well, doing 160 damage if your opponent's active Pokemon has any damage counts on it, and 220 damage for Cyber Drive, can't attack next turn. Why would you play it over a very much more powerful Mirage, which can easily work, has an entire engine around it? I'm not too sure. The future Pokemon definitely feel a little bit more lackluster, but I do think Iron Crown is very strong. I like this feel. I really like how they're really going into the future and ancient Pokemon. I'm very excited to see how it goes when we hit rotation very, very soon in like 25 days. Rest of it, let's look at some other cards as well. Fluttermane is pretty decent. As long as it's in the active spot, your opponent's active Pokemon have no abilities except Fluttermane. This is a better Klefki. Klefki obviously shuts down basic abilities, but Fluttermane shuts off all abilities if it's in the active spot. So it's not too bad overall. The attack is okay. Iron Valiant, however, I really like this attack. 20 damage and 20 snipe. This is very, very powerful for a single price Pokemon. Like I mentioned, Iron Crown, you chuck 2 to maybe 3 Iron Crowns in this one, do an additional 40 to 60 damage plus the Future Booster Catch Energy, which is additional 20 more damage, do additional 60 to 80 damage, so doing 100 damage for 1 energy, plus a 20 snipe, and a single price Pokemon for 1 energy. Very, very strong. I really like this. I think it could do really well, especially as a one prize attacker in like potentially a future box. Again, we're going to see a lot more cards as well, but I'm very, very excited for where the future Pokemon are going with this. Next one is like a Mallow reprint. Search your deck for 2 cards, shuffle your deck, put those 2 on top of your deck. Very, very powerful, especially in the likes of Curlia and other draw factoring. You can easily draw into those 2 cards, which is very, very strong. And Exploration's Guidance, which is look at the top 6, put 2 in your hand, discard the rest. Kind of okay. I don't mind it. I think definitely the new Mallow reprint is much stronger. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of the future and ancient cards that are being revealed. I'm so excited to be testing them. We know we're going to be getting these for our March set for EUIC. We know Japan is going to have it legal starting the end of next month, which I'm so excited to cover with it. I have a ton of really good plans talking about it in the future. But yeah, talk about the big things. Ace Specs returning. Let's start off with Master Ball. This card here, which was really funny when it got revealed. Loads of people went out and bought Master Ball, but it's not a good card. Just search deck for a Pokemon and put it into your hand. This saw 0 to no play when it was legal. This card will again see 0 to no play at all. Neon Upper Energy is okay, but it's only if attached to a stage 2 Pokemon. It provides every type of energy, but only provides 2 energies at a time. Again, why is it limiting to stage 2 if it's just for evolved Pokemon? It's the first time we've seen an energy as an ace spec, so again, pretty nice. It's not limited to tool cards or tool or item cards, so that's nice to see. But again, it may see some play, but not a ton. The card that will see so much play is Prime Catcher. This has a ton of talking points. A lot of people said the game is ruined. A lot of people say this is unhealthy, but honestly, I think it's not terrible as an ace spec. Basically, it's Guzma, a supporter card with a very good gusting card as a item card. Switch your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active one. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench. Very, very, very strong. Very, very powerful. You can really abuse this in effects like Roy Moon or Shein Pow, or even any deck with Dark Process. You can use 2 of these at the same time. A ton of decks love switching effects in this one. Like that Gouging Fire, you now can use this one to reload it as another attacking option. It's just super, super powerful. Having this gusting effect plus an Iona as well, it's super, super powerful. A lot of people are thinking, oh, why don't we have Reset Stamp as an ace spec? And then we can do Reset Stamp plus a Gust effect. No, this card is even better. It works with the likes of any item draw factoring cards. Obviously, it's Iridial searchable. It's Arven searchable. It's obviously also Pokestop searchable as well from a discard. So it's very, very powerful, very, very strong. Just expect this to be in about 75 to 80% of decks, which will have an ace spec. We'll probably play this one currently. There has been no new reveals yet, but this card here is insanely good. Whew. That is a ton of brand new cards. I hope you guys enjoy this one. I'm really, really excited. I think all of them have really good merits for this one. But let's talk about what everyone is here for. It is for the Koyto Champions League. It was incredibly powerful. We still don't know the numbers right now, but we can see here there was a ton of really interesting decks. The winning was taken by Lost Zone Paradox Box. We already saw a lot of people like play around this one. It did well in LEIC. And obviously, Paul's been playing around with like Paradox Box as well, with like Iron Hand, Roaring Moon, and others were very strong archetypes as well, doing pretty okay. But second place was Roaring Moon. Yes, an archetype which I absolutely love. I think it's very, very powerful. It did really, really well against second place. Top 4 was followed by a Mew and a Golden Go Palkia. Again, huge deep runs, but he's very under the radar meta decks. That's what I love about the Champions Leagues. They always have these fun, kind of like kooky decks, which actually do really well. That's one thing I absolutely love. I really appreciate the deck building strategies. And obviously, seeing the Golden Go do really well on Roaring Moon, immediately people are going to be playing these cards here. It's very, very strong. Top 8 rounded up with Rapid Strike with Iron Valium, Charizard, Lostina, and Arceus Zeraora. Yes, Zeraora, card which honestly I feel like hasn't really left anyone's bulk pile since Crown Sinnoh, actually did pretty well overall. And rounding up the top 16, we have 3 Charizard, 2 Gardevoir, 1 Arctina, 1 Lostina, and 1 Lost Zone Roaring Moon. I guess a side version. A big difference here, we're not seeing a single Miraidon or Lugia. These decks are definitely ones which have definitely fallen on radar, especially the Lugia, but Miraidon's been very, very well in our metagame. It's done incredible in Japan. It won 2 Champions League last year. Same thing with Mew. Mew gained top 4 with no surprise at all. Gardevoir not getting top 8. I think that's the first time since it got released. It hasn't broken that top 8, but top 16 is still very impressive. But also the likes of no Miraidon, I feel like is a bit more surprised for my fact. I think it's a very, very strong deck, especially seeing how it's been performing right now. I was a little bit surprised it didn't do too well, but if you look at all those matchups there, it had a decent run against it. Obviously, Path to Peak is kind of like a better version, but a lot of people are flipping out to go to that Pioneer build, trying to get any card you might want to have. So let's break down and look at the list as well and talk to you exactly how good all of these archetypes were. So let's look at the Lost Zone Paradox box here. This here is very much straightforward to how you've seen most other decks here. Having that good Kyogre finishing is pretty much exactly how this deck works as well. Another two good some big, powerful not stage two, rule box cards as well. Thinking of having Iron Hand, Royal Moon, and Raikou. Raikou is still staple for Lost Box. Getting that draw factor, do 220 damage max is still very, very strong. One thing I love about this one, it does play Ditto. I think Ditto is an incredibly powerful card, especially in Lost Box option. Having that 5th Comfy at the start of it, yes, you can only use it on your first turn of the game. So if you don't utilize it, that's fine, but you could just search out and just get another card you might potentially want to have. You might want to end your turn with a Cramorant, and you can just go through your Comfies first, get a Ditto, then switch into a Ditto, get it out, add a Cramorant. There are different really amazing ways to go around it. Rest of it, I don't think is that much really to comment about. A lot of it is still very straightforward. I think it's a very, very powerful archetype. I've rarely seen Lost Zone. A lot of people say, oh, it's dead because of Iron Hands. It wins with Iron Hands. So that's one thing I absolutely love. But a card a lot of people want to talk about is Royal Moon, the second place list here. And oh my God, is this an incredibly fun archetype? It has Cross Receiver. And props to anyone who's actually been thinking about this card ever since it got revealed in Future Strike. Nearly 2 years ago, obviously it disappears in 25 days in Japan, but this card here actually managed to do really, really well. What works so well about it is if you play 2 of it at the same time, you get to search your discard pile for a state supporter card or a Pokemon and pop it into your hand. Now this is really good because it's basically a VS Seeker. And one thing I've noticed while playing Royal Moon is you can pretty much lose all your starters very, very early on. You do aggressive Pokestops, you lose all of it, you have to Squawkabilly or Ultra Ball, and all of a sudden all your supporters now disappeared and gone. You couldn't really rely on like Power Pad, but having the Cross Receiver gets them in the late game. You can use Darkrai to get it to then play another starter. I really love this archetype. I still like having the Morpeko. I like having the Darkrai. Darkrai is a very good secondary attacker, but also its ability, its star power is very, very powerful. Get any 2 item cards as well. Getting that switches, getting more dark patches, getting that Cross Receiver, getting any of these other item cards. It's just super, super strong. I think it's a very, very powerful archetype. Potentially, this is the strongest way to play Royal Moon. A lot more people have picked up with it. A lot more people have given it more hope. We're definitely going to see what Portland brings to us. I believe it is this weekend or next weekend. It's the next huge tournament, so we're going to see how the meta is really affected then. But honestly, I'm very excited, very happy to see how powerful Royal Moon really did become. But now let's talk about Go. Yes, Go Palkia managed to make a top 4, which honestly shocked everyone. I think when I woke up and saw the news about this, because I was over in America at Christmas time, seeing this, I was like, whoa, this is a big surprise as well. I'm very happy to see this rogue deck, Go, which had a lot of hype going into the Paradox Reformer, actually it's going really well here, potentially could have more new lease of life. And all of this makes so much sense. Work out as a very, very powerful draw fact, just drawing 3 cards and discarding a stadium card in play. Getting rid of any pesky Path to Peaks is a huge, huge must. And obviously this deck focuses a ton of Path to Peak as well. To draw in the factor as well, and obviously having Greninja and Palkia to help with their setup and draw factor. Palkia also makes a ton of sense in the deck. A lot of people might look at this and go, why is that, Charlie? For 260 damage, if both benches are full, it's a very good relevant number. Go takes a while to set up. It's not going to have that energy streaming, constantly attacking. Whereas Palkia can really help you get rid of those basic V or EXs going around that. That's why I really like this one. It's a very easy, very good straight attacking option. And Star Portal, you're not using it for any Golden Go. You can use that for a surprise Greninja in the late game, or potentially as parent your Palkia. Very, very powerful archetype. I love it. I've seen multiple people play this deck. It's just super, super powerful. Milotic as well, so you're not losing your hand size as well. You want to have a massive hand with that draw factor you have with Greninja, Worker, and also Golden Go. So having that Milotic to really stop your opponent from like rock sounding you or ioning you, it is very, very powerful. I love the rest of this deck. I think it's very, very strong, very, very powerful. Pokestop is definitely the right way. As we're looking at all of these top archetypes have been utilized and work very, very well under Pokestop. That could potentially be one of the best stadium cards and most versatile ones right now. I love Golden Go. I'm excited to see how it's grown in the metagame. Kind of see if it's going to like translate over for us as well. And finish off at top 4, we're looking at basically it's DTE Mew. It's like the good path to peak, just straight up path to peak, very destructive with Judge and Iono, but it does have a little bit of a fusion package in there. No Elsa Sparkle, but it does play 2 Fusion Strike energies. This could potentially be used to power up a Mew VMAX very, very slowly, but more realistically, it's probably to go around Spiritombs. Attach them to your Genesect so you at least have 1 or 2 active at a time. It's very, very powerful. You're not going to use it all the time. They're still focused primarily on that disruptor capability with Judge Iono, having that power pad, having the path to peak as well. I think it's very, very powerful, very, very strong. Box disaster to help in your Gardevoir matchup as well, cleansing off as well to try and get to that big one hit KO very, very easily. I like this deck. I think it's very strong. I like how Mew is still always evolving. Obviously, we say goodbye to Mew, so it's going to be very weird to not have a format with no Mew. It's one of the decks which has stood the test of time. Ever since re-release, it's always been that as one of the strongest archetypes. And I'm really glad to see on its final big Champions League, it did get that top 4 position. Now going into top 8, we're looking at Arceus Zeraora. Yes, this deck really did well, and honestly, it is very surprising. You do have the Flying Pikachu to really help you in the basic sort of a factor. You still have that Path to Peak, Lost City sort of package, which is where it always sort of goes into it. But we've played 2 Zeraoras, 2 different types. Zeraora V-Star is very, very powerful by pretty much making sure you discard your Stadium and play doing 190 damage, which is still okay, but you may are going to use it maybe potentially for the second one as well. 60 damage times the amount of your opponent's Pokemon in play that has an ability. This is very, very powerful, very, very strong, and Max Fist to do 240 damage. I really like this one. I think it's very, very powerful. I like having a cutscene clone to like slow down so it can like not be stuck by a Mimikyu. It can just go through anything. You're not using it to like get rid of a Manaphy attack onto the bench, but it's a very, very interesting deck. I really am surprised to see it just get top 8. But if we look at the attacking options, well, Zeraora has a ton of HP. A lot of Pokemon have abilities, so Zeraora VMAX is very, very strong at attacking option. And Flying Pikachu VMAX is still very, very good. It's been causing panic and mayhem ever since it's really been played since NAIC of 2 years ago now, of 2022. I like this archetype. I think it's very strong. I don't know if it will translate over, but it's really fun to see a fun Kuki deck go this far. Rapid Strike Valiant did pretty well overall. Nothing really to comment about this one. I think this is a little bit less consistent than other sort of Rapid Strike right now. I think Rapid Strike Intelligent is so much better right now than the Iron Valiant one. You're sacrificing a lot of your consistency, like attacking wise and switching cards option. You're to put in switching cards for the Valiant. Yes, it's very, very powerful. You can do a huge amount of damage as well. You can go through your mana piece, you can take multiple turns of Medicham V, and you have Charizard, which is a really good late game attacking option. Again, I'm not hating on the deck. For me, I personally don't think it's as strong, but to see it get top 8 is still very, very good. I love seeing new cards do really, really well, especially the future and ancient type Pokemon, them to actually do these really big, deep runs. It really gives me so much more faith in the game that people are utilizing the new mechanics. They're not just playing the decks which they know and love. Charizard as well getting this one finally going into for top 16. There wasn't a ton of top 8s of archetypes, so we're going to break down a couple different of the top Charizard ones, the Gardevoir, and the other ones as well. This Charizard one really are focusing on Pidgeot. I think especially after Azul did incredibly well, and other people as well have really put the faith back into Pidgeot and Charizard. It is the best way to play it. No one is really playing Path to Peak, and if you are playing Path to Peak, you always play outs of Path to Peak. This one here, you play 4 Arvins, a Lost Vacuum, and 3 Stadium. That is a ton of outs going into it. Rotom has definitely become a big staple in Charizard, especially in the early game. Just like popping it down and then just drawing through cards right at the end of your turn. It's very, very powerful. Trying to get your setup to always be streamlining a Pidgeot EX to search your deck for another Charizard to also you get your whole board set up. It's very, very strong, very, very powerful. I love how Charizard really has become this incredibly aggressive and powerful archetype. It's very, very strong as well. Does play a Devolution spray, no, TM, which I think is a very good inclusion. This one, this can be attached to anything because you're not always get these big one-hit KOs straight away, especially in the mirror match. So you could take a couple turns that way, and prizes is very strong. This one here is a little bit different. It does play the Radiant Charizard, but it does play the new Charmeleon. The Charmeleon as well is very strong. I expect that one to be played a lot with weak edit in a couple of weeks of Paldean Fates, but this one pretty much prevents any damage onto it except from normal attacks. So stopping like Sableye and Yoga Loop is very, very strong. A lot of things we're seeing are more common as well, especially the energy count. A lot of people are going to that 7, 8 sort of count as well, and then 1 or 2 Super Rod. I really like this one. It's very, very strong, very, very powerful. This build focuses more on Iono for disruption and then less of the Avery, which is what the other build did. So I like to see that both Charizards did get top 16, but both of them couldn't be more different. Now let's look at some Gardevoir. Yes, Gardevoir I think is very, very strong, very, very powerful, but it's not been doing as well in the Champions League. I expect to do really well, especially after having an incredibly good run in the City League Championships recently. A lot of people are now transitioning over to play 3 copies of the Shine Arcana Gardevoir. Now, you might go, Charlie, why is that sort of situation? Well, if you ask me, I do believe it is so you can constantly have more attacking options going forward. You're not going to be utilizing more of your Zacian. You can streamline your more single prize attacking options, can really just be devastating for your opponent. They might not be finding their boss's orders or their countercatcher constantly to go for the guard of words or potentially the Zacian on the bench. So really forcing them in to go single prizer, single prizer, single prizer, and having three of them, medial super, you can pretty much just purely attack with these single prize Gardevoir and only rely on Ozation at the very, very last game. I really like this bonus one. Really hope we do get Moonlight Hill very soon, because I think it's just an incredibly powerful stadium card. Hopefully we do get Paldean Fates. I believe we will be. It's just very, very powerful. We're 10 and 2 for energies is pretty normal right now. The rest of it as well, nothing really has surprised me at all. We look at the other build as well. This one here is a little bit more different. It doesn't play the Zacian at all, still plays up 3 copies of Gardevoir, but does play the Luxurious Cape. Luxurious Cape is a very, very powerful one, pretty much making your Scream Tone Gardevoir's 2-price Pokemon, but they can deal huge amount of damage, not really rely on the limit of healing factors at all. Not playing Moonlight Hill, but it is playing Miriam and 2 copies of Super Rod. Miriam obviously was played a ton in the first part of Gardevoir, where we didn't really have Ordinary Rod, and before we got Super Rod, Miriam was just that really good sort of hey, you can read your Pokemon as well, chuck them back in the deck as well. It's a good sort of draw 3 sort of effective supporter card. Not exactly, I don't think we'll see much play after this one, but still very, very fun to see it happen. Arctina did make a surprise appearance. I would judge anyone to say the list has not changed since NAIC last year. It is still a good sort of deck as well. It has high HP, high disruptive capability of your bosses, Iono's Judge, and Path to Peak. So it's very disruptive, very, very capable to do incredibly well. But there isn't that much to really say about it. I think it's in an okay place in the metagame right now. It's not been seen a ton. It's nice to see it did get a deep run to get that top 16, but I don't know how that's going to translate into our metagame. Well, people now finally pick up Arceus again, but when you think about the likes of people could be scared about Rapid Strike Urshifu, which is doing incredibly well right now over in America, or other sort of single price Pokemon, which is doing really, really strong as well. So definitely something to be considered about, but it is very disruptive, slow, weaks your opponent, so it is potentially a good archetype. And to finish off, let's look at Lost Zone Giratina. Lost Zone Tina did very well, obviously did get that top 8. But this one here is a little bit similar to how we're seeing most decks. We're seeing the Cleansing Gloves really helping that Gardevoir and Mew matchup, not really relying on getting your Star Requiem to get a big KO. I like how we're still playing the 2 copies of Sableye. The support account are very, very similar. I prefer the 2 Ionos over the 1 Roxanne, because Iono is really good in the early game if you don't get that Colress off, as well as also very disruptive in the late game. Roxanne obviously is very situational. It does win your game. Roxanne Path is very, very powerful, especially with Counter Catcher right now. Also, only having the 2 Water Energies a little bit too low for my liking. That really focuses if you lost zone 1 or potentially prize 1. You don't get access to your Moonlight Shurikens as early as you might potentially want to it. The rest of it still very, very powerful, very, very strong, and I do like having that 1 copy of Switch so you can move your Giratina and not really rely on your likes of your Switch cards. Apologies, there is one last deck to look at. It's Roaring Moon Lost Zone, the Sablezard version. Nothing absolutely groundbreaking and scary about this deck here. I really like this one. It's fun to see that Sablezard, which was arguably the best Lost Zone package when it was first kind of played back in 2020. So seeing it kind of like revamped again with Roaring Moon is just super, super powerful. Roaring Moon is one of the best attackers right now. Has one of 2 very, very strong attacks doing 220 damage if you discard a Stadium, or potentially is instantly KOing your opponent's active Pokemon. Very, very strong. I absolutely love this archetype. It's super, super powerful. And to see it get top 16 is very good. So looking ahead, talking about the metagame after we have a little bit of that debrief, there was a ton of really exciting lists, and I really hope you guys enjoy this, hearing my input into it, and kind of like showcasing you exactly what did really well. Is this going to be a new way to play Roaring Moon? We've seen this Darkrai package with Cross Receiver. Is potentially this the best way to play Roaring Moon? Or are we going to go into focusing on the Lost Zone package one? The similar to that Sablezard one we just looked at, or the winning list of Paradox box. There are so many different archetypes to play Roaring Moon. It's just super, super powerful. Should we take Golden Go seriously now? It's in the deck which a lot of people kind of had a lot of hope with it, but now we've finally got the results to back it up. Could we see it in Portland or other regions in the future? Could Golden Go actually be a serious threat right now to the metagame? Very, very powerful draw factor. Palkia really opens up the archetype as well. And to finish off the question, will Gardevoir bounce back? Yes, it did get 2 top 16s, so I'm not saying it's a really bad deck right now, but it hasn't been performing as well as people might have thought it might have done. It's kind of like dwindled a little bit in the City League percentage-wise. Obviously, people are scared of the Sableye, of the Iron Valiant, Yoga Loop, and as well Iron Hands, but Gardevoir, I believe, will bounce back. It did incredibly well. It was super, super dominant, so I'm really happy to see potentially it will bounce back. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and obviously I was a little bit behind the news, about a week behind because I was away, but I really appreciate every single one of you, and thank you so much for all the support. Videos will be a little bit more sporadic as the next coming months. We've got to get at least guaranteed one a week, maybe even two, big due to my work schedule, and I'm just always so grateful for you guys. Let's push to 1,000 subscribers this year. I'm just so grateful for every single one of you. Thank you so much. Hope you guys have a wonderful day and happy new year. See you guys later. Bye for now.